Hello, and welcome to episode 15 of our Let's Play. Wow, we have made it quite far. I'm wondering what's going to happen to my upload schedule when I head off to college, but we will find out. And by college, I do actually mean college. In Canada, we have university and college and call them different things. I know in the US, sometimes you guys call it all college, but I do actually mean college. Yeah. So last episode, we worked on the wireframing for the mothership, and this episode, I wanted to make some new map rooms for us, connecting this zone to the mothership. And that would be right down here. I want to make some, hab center sort of, inlaid into this cliff. I'm actually thinking about tearing out the top of the cliff altogether and having it kind of bulge out instead of being inside the cliff. So I think that's what I'm going to start with today, is a whole bunch of digging. So why don't we get to that right now? Alright, so last time I did this, I thought it was pretty effective, so thought I'd do another voiceover while I am building. So I ended up tearing out most of that area that I marked out there. I did actually take out the corner as well afterwards, which is awful without a beacon, but also it means that I got a whole bunch of stone, which is great because obviously I use stone a lot. I kind of kept flip-flopping between digging out the bottom and digging out the top, and then I was working a little bit on the interior-exterior thing because I've got kind of a walkway going on the inside, because what I want to do for this build is have it be kind of like that transition zone where this is the kind of place that people were living between the mothership and the town. As for the town, here's a little lore drop here, is what I want to do is show kind of how the transition happened slowly over time. One of the things that might not be obvious at the start is the timeline, and I'm actually thinking that there was a good 5 years where the planet was decently terraformed and livable for humans. So they started converting some of the hab centers into businesses as well, because they no longer needed to be as climate controlled, and they could move out of this more dense housing. So this is actually what I'm working on right here, is where we're putting our librarian villagers, is a converted hab center. Most of the buildings here are still usable as housing, but some of them were changed into businesses for our villagers, which the villagers actually I'm thinking are not like player shaped, you know? I'm picturing that the people are like the player versus the villagers are something else. I haven't quite established what that is yet, but I'm sure I will come up with it in the future, and just stick around and we'll see. I also scrambled a lot with these villagers, so it was kind of complicated, but here we go. Alright, here is what I have ended up with, our finished product. And I think, as I said in the time-lapse, that I decided that this specific unit was converted into a workplace. So this is what I've ended up with for our little library area. I also took the effort of putting all of the books on the bookshelves. I love using chiseled bookshelves as enchanted book storage. Unfortunately, they look all the same on the bookshelf, so I labeled all of them. They correspond to the villager that they're across from, but I'm stupid and sometimes can't figure that out, so I also labeled each column. As well as for mending and unbreaking, I added an extra one just in case, and there's some efficiencies up here that I accidentally grabbed too many. So, this is what we've got for our librarian villager area. And I think that calls for some upgrades to our armor. So we're gonna get prop 4 and thorns, depth strider, respiration, aqua affinity. Awesome. Alright, shiny. So I forget how I managed to get thorns on all of my armor. Maybe there's like a specific way that you're supposed to do it. Because I always just had the same set of armor. So I've only got thorns on these two, and then it was too expensive for these ones. So I don't know, but good enough. I think it's pretty good. I think I would like to now start working on some of the more decorative pieces of that build. Putting in some furniture, some living pods, you know. I'm gonna have a hallway behind the map wall so that it's easier for me to make the rooms. Like, I'm picturing that the map wall is public facing. Oh, I got a hole here. Okay. Is public facing, and then the doors to the hallway are locked, as well as the doors to the units being locked. So I kind of picture that that's how that works. So I'm gonna put a hallway behind here that would only be accessed by the residents of this hab facility here, which both makes it easier for me to build utilizing the map walls, and also I think makes some sense lore-wise, you know. So why don't we hop to that? Alright, we are back in lore voiceover me, talking about my plans for this building and how it fits into the story. Like I said, these are the transition places for our people who live on the moon of Ganymede. And what I was thinking story-wise is that these hab centers were built for incoming settlers. A lot of them came on the mothership, but also for, like, genetic diversity, you need a significant amount of people. So more people ended up coming, and they needed somewhere to live. So in the years that it was being terraformed, this was where people were living. And that's also where kind of my timeline comes in, is the timeline that I was thinking about is probably a little bit unclear, and the drawing that I had of the broadcaster on the mothership was also probably a little bit misleading, because I am not very good at drawing ages in between about 15 to 30. So they ended up looking a lot older than I intended. I intended them to be mid-teens in that drawing, and they were late 20s, early 30s by the time that we're hearing them on the broadcasts. So there actually is a significant amount of time in between. And like I said, the broadcast tower was the first thing built, but it wasn't originally the broadcaster's tower. I also don't think I'm ever going to name this character. I think that they're just going to be the broadcaster / broadcaster for the rest of the series. I don't see a reason in naming them. So they're just going to be broadcaster / the broadcaster, depending on how it fits into the sentence. And I'm thinking, like I said previously, that there's at least a 5-year window between breathable air and we gotta get out of here. I also don't think I'm gonna disclose what the incident was for a while, because I do want to leave some things up to mystery. So the incident is just going to be referred to as that for now. So what I wanted to do is show a progression of time from the mothership outwards, which I've discussed at length, making things look older, newer, etc. And the big thing that I want to do after the mothership, because I'm not intending to end with the mothership, that was not the intention I really like to have milestones, so I'm probably just going to keep building on this world as long as I can, because that's what I like doing in Minecraft. The actual progression of the game isn't really as important to me, if you haven't noticed based on my lack of wings and shulker boxes. I'm really missing my shulker boxes. So we might actually be doing some game progression soon. But I want to make the Ender Dragon a whole video in itself. So that's not going to be soon. Maybe I'll do it for episode 20. We'll see. Some milestone episode. But what I was getting to was, after the mothership, I want to create the city that was built first on Ganymede. And that is going to be up on the hill that the kind of monorail that I'm building is trying to reach. And I think that the little town that we've built so far is just businesses. There's no housing there yet. So this is where the people are working, but this city is going to be where they're living. So after this time lapse, which is very soon, I am going to pop over to a map that I have drawn, which is based on the level 2 map of the area. So here it is. As you can see, I've got the industrial area and the mothership planned out, as well as 4 other sections. Right now I'm working on the hab centers, which are right along this area that I've been building in this episode. Towards where the village is, where I got our villagers from, I want to make some, like, farms that were very clearly under some sort of hab dome, but then it was removed when they no longer needed that recycled air and could just use the air from the new terraformed planet. So I'm gonna do something up there with some fields and farms, just because I really like fields. I find them very aesthetically pleasing in Minecraft worlds, and I just like them. The other thing that I didn't mention yet is the what I'm just calling the mountain lab right now. It doesn't have a full name yet. I'll probably name it something else in the future, but I want to make some sort of, like, outpost on top of that snowy mountain there to kind of connect up our flower farm and the rest of everything else. At some point I want to connect that even better, but I'm not 100% sure how yet, so just working on that for now. And then in the bottom here is our post-terraform city. I love building cities. Which I'm sure I've already said extensively. I think last episode I have a picture of my Forever World put in there, of my cyberpunk city, which took me 5 years. Okay. So, yeah. I want to build a city, and this one is going to be a little bit more atom punk, solar punk kind of idea. So many punks. So more of like a sustainable city kind of idea, but something that has been left to time. And I think that could be a really cool build after the mothership. So we've got lots of things to look forward to. Why don't we see what we're doing back in the world? Okie dokie, this is what we've got. You can see the outside. And on the inside, under all here, is frog lights. Got spots for our maps, which is everywhere where there's black, because I'm not going to fill out the entire thing, but it'll slowly expand, and I just want the non-filled places to just be black. Obviously, we've got our library here. This is where I've been keeping all of my stuff, by the way. I got a little cubby in here. All of my builds like this tend to have a weird little cubby somewhere. That's where I keep all my building supplies. And in here we've got this hallway, which you've seen. And up the stairs is the second floor that I was working on. So what I was going for in this area is kind of like a common room sort of thing. You know those like weird kind of university dorm common rooms that they've clearly just shoved a bunch of stuff in a room with like a TV and been like, here you go. It's kind of empty and weird, and none of the couches are from the same place. But yeah, And then each one of these is identical, so I'll only show you one. We've got a stove with a little coat rack. Yeah. Bed. I think I've shown this already. Also, these are slowly oxidizing because I didn't have the energy to oxidize them outside of the rooms, so they're just slowly oxidizing in here. Goes all the way around the side here. I think that it looks like some weird basement kind of idea. Some of them might have windows, but I don't think most of them do, because a lot of them face into the, like, just wall of, what do you call that, dirt underground. Yeah. And there's a bunch of little entrances in here. Oh yeah, also, around this corner, I added a storage room. There's a little storage room in here. It was just like a weird extra bit that needed something, so it's a storage room now. Yeah, and as I was working on this, I'm realizing that my scaffolding is not doing so great. So I'm thinking my huge bottleneck is string, and I have not found any spider spawners anywhere under the ground here. So I'm thinking, why don't we make a classic skyblock mob spawner? And I'm thinking about putting it between this one and also where I'm going to put another hab center over here. Also, I'm pretty sure that I have run my mines pretty dry over there. So I'm thinking that underneath this mob spawner, I'm gonna have a bubble elevator directly down to the caves, which are down here, I think. I've wandered over here a couple times, because I've got two mines. I've got one that's kind of behind the smokestacks over there, and I've got one kind of in that direction, which has spanned over here, and I think there's more stuff under here. So, fast track down to the mines here, and yeah, I think that's gonna be our second project of this episode. So, why don't we go do a quick resource gather, and I will be back with some more talking and building and cool things like that. Alright, so for this one, I didn't use like a tutorial or anything. I've been building these, I don't know, since I was like 10. So it's pretty ingrained in my brain. I did still manage to mess it up, actually. So maybe I would have done well with a tutorial. As you can see, I'm having to fill in one more up so that I can put in the trapdoors. But I've been building these forever, so I'm pretty aware of how to make one. I made it a netherrack because I'm going to cover it anyway, and I have so much netherrack. So now I'm just working on kind of prettying up the collection area. It's nothing too special. I just threw some pale oak around, made it a little bit nicer, and then started working on a storage system. The storage system is not super crazy or anything. It's just chests, hoppers, the sorting system, auto sorter, right? And then that last one is just overflow. And then I started working on the exterior, and this is one of our older buildings that was still designed within the kind of climate-controlled sort of area. So it's older than the broadcast station, but the broadcast station was more designed out of stone and those good things. I'd imagine that this is more metal. Everything closer to the mothership is going to be more metal, so I was trying to go for a sort of rusted sort of look, especially from the top area and also where it connects up with the water. I wanted under the water to look like it's like damp, which is why it's so dark around the water line there. And then as I was going up, I wanted to make it look like there was something like dripping from the top that was causing the rust, like something from the mob juices, I don't know, or maybe just the water in the top kind of like dripped down and stained the exterior. Also, netherrack is just like such a good temporary block as well. It's like moss. I love having moss and then a really fast hoe as well as netherrack and a really fast pickaxe because it's basically a just temporary block. Also, doing the roof, I've decided to do these all in moss for some cohesion. Alright, we are back. For me, it's been a while. For you, it's been a few seconds. I have been out and away and doing things in real life, and I am back now. So, yeah, most of that stuff has also been comic-related stuff. I've been doing a lot of advertising, a lot of working on Webtoon, a lot of that stuff, so if you want to see more of my stuff in the time that I was gone, then feel free to go look at my Webtoon. There should be some new volumes up now. And the next thing that I'd like to talk about is the fact that our path is gone. I took out the path because I didn't like it. I preferred going through here, and I feel like it makes more sense lore-wise. I think I'm gonna connect up everything on this sort of street within these bubbles, so it kind of makes sense that this is like a public-facing street, and then these go into the more like private residence area. And then this is what we've ended up with here. I am pretty happy with it. The one thing that bugs me is that I ended up putting the next layer directly on top of the acacia log, but I don't really want to go in and fix it, so I think that's just what it looks like now. And here is our mob farm. So far, it hasn't produced enough to go through the sorting system, because the sorting system isn't up to 41 yet. And yeah, this is what we have got. I talked about in the time-lapse what I was kind of going for, and this is how that has made itself. And as I was working, I was looking a lot at this river. Oh my god. I was looking a lot at this river, and also tearing out this. And I think, oh, I really wish I had wings right now. Okay, cool. Okay, what was I saying? Right, ocean monument. I'm gonna go take down an ocean monument, I think, because I want a conduit, and I already have a Heart of the Sea, and I have the Nautilus shells, but I want a full conduit so that I can stick it down there, and I can work on terraforming this river, because I can. I haven't really done much other terraforming. I think I want to do more. I would really like to make this an improvement on terraforming series, because I'm not very good at it. And I think it would be interesting to try and make this into more of a custom biome and kind of work around our buildings and everything into adding in just a little bit more of an alien element, I think. That could make it pretty neat. So the first thing that we need for our monument trip is going to be pufferfish, because I want to make water-breathing potions so that I don't die. Why, when I'm trying to get fish, do I always just end up with pufferfish, but then when I'm actually trying to get pufferfish, all I get is fish? Alright, so we are gonna go over to the desert, and I think that is nearby where we have our ocean monuments. And I do say plural, because if you've seen my previous episodes, I found like 5 of them all around a mushroom island. Which actually I'm thinking about doing something with the mushroom island. I'm just not quite sure yet what that's gonna be. Ugh. What just happened? Ah! I don't have flint and steel on me. I think I'm just gonna have to deal with that later. Because I'm not really sure what to do about that right now, so let's go. Maybe we'll find a ruined portal. The desert has gotten so much more scary. I think these things survive in the daylight. Okay, he's in the hole. He's in the hole. Okay. Wait, the camel just like disappeared. Okay, I'll take it. See if they have a blacksmith so I don't have to go mining. This is a pretty big village. And there is no blacksmith. There she is. Oh, and there's a ruined portal, so it probably has a flint and steel. Huzzah. Okay, here we go. What I usually do is make a home base tower with my boat to quickly get away, and a bed, and a way to get up to said bed. Now, let's chug our water breathing and go. Break the beams, break the beams, break the beams, break the beams. I'm gonna try and make this interesting for you guys, but I am definitely very focused when it comes to... Okay, so there is the... I also do kind of want to drain one of these at some point because I think a prismarine farm would be pretty good for our building. Also, they just look cool. Like, a drained ocean monument looks awesome. Okay, one down, 2 to go. Okie dokie. I think we will have decent range if I put it here. Yeah, that seems good. And I believe this is the shape. Right? How far does this go? I'm just gonna like move it along as we go, but we shall see. And I'm gonna like cover all these ravines and stuff, like I'm gonna make the bottom of the river look a little nicer. Same with over here. I only ended up doing one side of this because the rest I'm gonna just fill in as this part being the wall. It'll make sense later, don't worry. Okay, that is... Okay, that'll be good to do this zone, and then I will move it and we'll do this zone. Okay. I mean, I could always just make a second one, but that, like, takes forever. This is actually my first time having a conduit. I don't usually need it for anything. It looks really cool. I like it. Pretty neat. I am going to take a quick sec to take a look at our video's runtime, and then I will be back, depending on how we're doing for time. Alright. Hello guys, we have a bit of a different layout today, and as you can see behind me, I have filled out our map for episode 15, but it's a little bit different in that it is a level 2 map, as I mentioned before, and I also only filled out the areas that were like strictly needed where I've built things. Everything else can kind of just fade into the wool there. And as we build more, it'll even look cooler as it kind of expands. Sort of like a video game map, I feel like. Well, we are playing a video game, aren't we? Interesting. But it is now time to say goodbye for this episode, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys!